Hello and welcome to Fully Charged. Now, an aspect of making a show about cars is occasionally you have to get up very early to fly somewhere to try one out. And this is me on the plane. In this case, it was flying to Portugal and I was flown there by Jaguar. I wasn't alone. I was with about 20 other proper motoring journalists who write for proper motoring magazines and different newspapers. When we came out of the airport, there was a row of Jaguar I-Paces waiting for us on the forecourt. And of course, they were all fully charged. One by one, we set off. I drove for a couple of hours, and then Adam, my Jaguar co-driver, took over. Quite quickly. Really is the most bizarre thing to be in an electric car that makes this noise. Oh! That's brilliant. I love that. I was driving very sensibly up through the mountains, and then Adam got behind the wheel, and, he wants his lunch. Hence, the speeds we're currently doing. So on the road, the I-Pace is smooth, fast and confident, but I was about to experience something I hadn't even imagined being possible in a road-going electric car. This is definitely something I didn't expect to do this today. To do some quite severe off-roading in an electric car. It's not something I connect the two things with. We're basically now driving through a river. That is insane that we're doing this. But we're now going up the most stupidly steep track. I mean, because I've driven Land Rovers properly off-road in my time, and an old Land Rover would struggle getting up here. It's really bonkers. We're going up you couldn't walk up this. You'd have to. So the wheels are slipping a bit as we go up, but it's finding its way. That is just absolutely crazy that we got around there. We stopped then. But that was just because it couldn't quite grip. It's right on the edge of what the car can do with it. It's absolutely amazing. But what this car is dealing with is completely crazy. It's climbing up a very, very steep hill on very loose ground. Oh my God, I'm not making it go up, but it's just going up. It's terrifying. I can't see. Don't touch anything, just steer. That is bonkers that it's working that out. Wow. Because I'm not doing anything with my feet. This car is going up a ridiculously steep slope, and I'm steering it. That's all I'm doing, and that's bloody terrifying because I can't see anything in front of me. When we're going over the brow of hill, so all I can see at the moment is the sky. That's it. I'm hoping that it will carry on. Wow, that is incredible. So it won't go above. So it's just basically set at just below about 19 kph.
After 200 meters, turn left.
I love the fact that the sat-nav has got instructions when we're on a farm track at the top of a mountain. I mean, there's definitely not a road. So the two things that have really, really blown me away today are the noise it makes when you're driving, but the off-road capabilities. I had no idea that this car was capable of that. You think electric car, urban transportation. I do all these talks about, shared mobility and, more environmentally. You don't think an electric car is going to go up a hill that's like that steep, that it's dust and rock, and find its own way up and drive itself up the hill. I mean, it's incredible traction control it's got. And it's that DNA that, I did think, because it's so tempting to compare this to a Tesla, and you can't really. It's a different, totally different car. I mean, if you did that ridiculous off-road track we've just done in a Model X, I think you'd probably cause thousands of pounds worth of damage. And this car just coped with it really well. And then it also does this, which is pretty cool. We then had lunch at a racing circuit, which was nice and relaxing. And then the relaxation finished when I showed my supreme racing skills on the track, especially if I have an actual racing driver in the passenger seat doing the steering for me.
Downhill, the left corner, braking the double cone.
All right. Now do I brake now?
Yeah, brake here.
Yes.
Brake, 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 brake. Brake more. Turn in. Wait with the power. Be gentle. and go. Feel the curve in your tires.
Yeah.
Okay, go a bit wider and go to the left. Power, power, power. Keep powering even when you go down. Take the car to the right.
To the right.
Yes, go to the right. Catch the speed here. Robert.
Right.
See, we have space, more than space to. No, never twist the car in the exit.
Right.
Follow the back door. Keep the car inside. The weight is on your side.
Yeah.
When you reach here, you put power and go wide to the left. That's it. See the car jumps?
Yeah.
Grab the steering wheel. You need strength in the.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Go. Never lift it. Just take the car to the right and power. Go. 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 Perfect.
Jesus
Release.
Christ.
And gentle. To the middle. Like this. Yeah. Let's go.
That's enough of that. We don't need to say any more of that. That's enough. Stop. I was wibbling all over the place. Now, Scoob, a friend of Danny John Jules, suggested on Twitter that I change my username to the Vicar of Wibbly. I then drove the I-Pace to the hotel and fell in a heap, and the next day we set off again.
So this isn't my first drive in the Jaguar I-Pace S. The one I was driving yesterday was the first edition, and to be honest, I can't tell the difference in terms of, it looks pretty much the same. And all you do is you press the drive button and then you give it a little bit of stuff and it starts to move. So yeah, the difference between this car and the one I was driving yesterday is that there are wood accents in the fascia. That's one thing. So this has got what looks like sort of carbon fibre-esque-ness about it, but you know, essentially it's the same car. Underneath it's the same car, and it does have some really good things that, I mean, the trouble is that the most comparable vehicle to this that's currently available is obviously the Tesla Model S or Model X, and this kind of lies in between the two, and I quite like the fact that it isn't an SUV or a saloon car or a sports car. It is, as Ian Callum, the designer, said, it's an I-Pace. There's not really anything you can quite compare it to, but there are one or two features, the one being the off-roading, which is utterly absurd that this car can do what it did yesterday, but the other one is the kind of quite like, which I'm not going to do right now because I don't like going around corners very fast, but it's the sound, and I'm just hoping that we've switched it all on right. I mean, that, I don't know why. I feel like it's marginally childish that I appreciate that, but now, as someone who's driven, I think pretty much every model of Tesla that's available, you know, this is much faster than my Model S 85. There's no question of that. You know, this has got more grunt because but only a little bit more, and nothing like as much as the P100D Ludicrous. You know, that car is faster off the mark, 0 to 60. But it's a kind of pointless skill because you just can't use it. This one has got sort of it's the same thing that all electric cars have, which is it's not the 0 to 60 that you appreciate. So if I'm now doing 73 kilometers an hour, and now I'm doing 125. You know, that's what you appreciate, is when you're already moving. I slowed down because there were some cyclists going the other way, and I didn't want to frighten them. You know, the power. So to overtake something, you know, is just not a problem at all. You just overtake them. You do it really, really quickly, and then you go back to the normal, sensible speed. The regen, the one pedal braking, so we're going down quite a steep hill now, and I've got my foot off the throttle. I'm going to see what happens. There's no one behind me. I did not touch the brake. Now, is it going to actually stop? Not quite. But, you know, that is, you know, we're going down a steep hill. You'd have your brakes on a bike going down here because it was quite steep. So the one pedal stuff, you just don't touch the brakes. If you drive sensibly, there's two settings, so you can turn that off so it kind of free wheels. But I mean, I can't imagine you'd want to do that. You'd want to use the single pedal. You'd get used to it really quickly. So we're about to pull onto a sort of dual carriageway, I think, and so I can appreciate the Jaguar roar of the completely artificial sound. It's not anything mechanical in the car. I appreciate that because is not like a petrol engine. It's like a spaceship. It's like a sort of sound effect you'd use in the Millennium Falcon. And you can turn that off. You don't have to have that on, but I quite like it, so I've left it on. Very strictly enforced speed limits in Portugal, and I'm being very careful. I know some of the other journalists who've driven it have got it up to 100. I'm trying to remember what it was, but we worked out about 125 miles an hour. I'm not doing that. But in terms of, driving comfort, now having driven it a long way, been a passenger in it a long way, it is an incredibly comfortable car. But with it, I think a completely plausible 298 mile range. So, in normal driving, I reckon, I'm sure I could get over 300 if you were really careful. If you were feathering it and hypermiling, you could probably go over 300. But that's the whole range thing. It's such a load of old nonsense, and it's completely irrelevant because this car goes further. I think bladder range is really important. Very, very few people have got a 300 mile bladder range, because that is potentially 6 hours driving at average speeds in the UK, around 50 miles an hour. That's a long time to sit in a car. So this car has a 90 kilowatt hour battery, 298 mile range according to the new WLTP protocol, and it has effectively a 400 horsepower powertrain. It's 400 PS, so it's two dual motors, motor at the front, motor at the back, four-wheel drive. Incredible sort of road holding and stability. It was amazing. I mean, obviously, because of where the battery is, the weight is really low down in the car. The actual driving position is quite high, and the visibility is absolutely faultless. I mean, it is a brilliant car to drive, and it costs quite a lot of money. It's certainly not a cheap car, and that is, if you're going to be critical of car manufacturers, the fact that there will be a wide range of high-end luxury SUV-ish electric cars on the market in the next couple of years is interesting, and far fewer small, shorter range but much cheaper city cars. The reason that Jaguar and BMW and Mercedes and Audi are making cars along this line is because they know they can sell them. They wouldn't make them otherwise, and they're very confident that they can sell them. I know that Jaguar have had an enormous amount of interest in this car. A lot of people want to buy it. A lot of Tesla owners have sniffed around. I've met a few that have sniffed around an I-Pace and gone, that's really nice. And I mean, the big, I don't know if it's a drawback, but the big attraction of Tesla is the Supercharger network, which is absolutely, if you've got a car in Europe or North America or indeed China, a Tesla, then you can drive it anywhere. And it's really, really easy to use, and that's where Jaguar have got a challenge on their hands, because you've got to use the standard public charging network for this, which I use all the time, and it does exist, contrary to many people's opinions. There is one. In the UK, there's a huge amount of rapid chargers in motorway services, but the ease of finding and using a Tesla supercharger, now I've got used to it, is it's just easier. I just want to say, you may be aware that we've just driven from a sort of bumpy, rumpy road onto one that's silky smooth. Ooh, this is nice. I might have to do a bit of that. I'm a racing driver. The vicar of wibbly, because I'm a slightly wibbly wobbly driver, which is why when I'm going around corners, I don't do that. But the car can do it, you see, that's the trouble. Oh, Jesus. It's just my fear. The car's absolutely, you can tell the car's absolutely fine with it. Oh, Lord above. The vicar of wibbly's coming. If you're on a bike, throw yourself over the hedge. So I think the challenge for Jaguar is the charging network, which is what Tesla solved by installing thousands, now tens of thousands of superchargers all over the world. Jaguar aren't going to do that now. It's not, it's not going to happen. But they're working in the UK with ChargeMaster, who are installing rapid chargers by the dozen. So there is a charging network that is available to use in this car. But I think one of the things I suggested to them when this car first appeared was the best thing they could do for their customers was to make arrangements with charging networks to allow Jaguar owners to use any charger really, really simply, and they're working on that. That is one of their aims, but they haven't done it yet. But this car, you know, Tesla, also the Superchargers are fast. That's the really special thing about that, 120 kilowatts. It very rarely is 120 kilowatts, just to be completely clear about that. Very often it's between 80 and 100. This car can charge at 100 kilowatts, and there now are rapid chargers that can deliver that. But that said, even with all those, you know, extra drawbacks to driving an electric Jaguar I-Pace, and they're very minor drawbacks, you don't use the rapid charge network as much as people think. You're not using it every day like you have to use a petrol station where that's the only place you can fill it, because you charge these at home, and most Jaguar owners are going to have somewhere off the road to park their cars, I'm guessing.
So yes, the I-Pace will clearly cover close to 300 miles on a charge. It's fast, it's sophisticated and comfortable, and it can climb up a rocky mountainside if you really want it to. It's very hard not to love. Hopefully the next time I get to drive the I-Pace, I will have the chance to charge it. I want to see what it's like charging overnight, what it's like rapid charging, how really far you can really go in a Jaguar I-Pace. That's all to come very soon on Fully Charged. That's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe to Fully Charged. Have a look at the Patreon link beneath this video. And as always, if you have been, thank you for watching.